I get more props and stunts than Bruce Willis.
Hi, I'm Fiorentina N, and today I'm going to define national income. Generally, national income means the flow of goods and services in a nation over the time period of a year. Thus, this means it is the net result of all economic activities of a country in a year in terms of money. There are several ways national income can be defined as. First is the total value of all goods and services produced in a nation during a year after deducting the depreciation values of a machine. Second is the total payment received by the factors of production in a country during a year. Third is the total net output of the nation. And fourth, the annual consumption of the people in the country. There are several concepts of national income. First is gross domestic products. Second is gross national product. Third is market price and factor costs. Fourth is net national product. Fifth is national income at factor costs. And sixth, personal income. And seven, disposable national income.
Hi there, my name is Amin, and today I'm going to explain the differences between GDP and GNP. So, GDP is an acronym for Gross Domestic Product, while GNP, on the other hand, is the acronym for Gross National Product. So, what are the differences? GDP is the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a specific period of time, which is usually calculated yearly, while GNP, on the other hand, is the total market value of all final goods and services produced by the residents of a country within a specific period of time. So, how can you differentiate between GDP and GNP? GDP excludes all intermediate goods and all final goods and services produced by the residents of a country who are working overseas or out of the country. For example, Malaysians who are working in Japan or maybe in America or maybe in the United Kingdom, their incomes and earnings are excluded from the gross domestic product. However, their incomes and earnings are included inside the gross national product. This is because gross national product includes all incomes and earnings by the residents of a country regardless where they are, meaning that gross national product accepts all incomes and earnings from any kind of firms or maybe individuals who are working overseas or out of the country. Thus, the net income from abroad becomes the difference between GDP and GNP. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Today, we will be discussing 5 uses of national income. First, national income can be used to evaluate the economic performance per time. This can be done by taking the national income in a certain time and compare it to another. For example, in Malaysia, we can take the national income in the year 2019 and compare it to the year 2020. Then, we can see whether the economic performance is enhancing, diminishing, or remain constant throughout the time. Moreover, national income can also be used to estimate the standard of living comparison. This can be done by comparing the national income of different countries in the same amount of time. For instance, we can compare the national income of the United Kingdom to the national income of Cambodia. Then, we can see that countries with higher national income have the higher living standard compared to countries with lower national income. Third, national income can also be used to make national planning, including short-term and long-term planning. Without this statistic, our government cannot make any planning and prediction for our future economic growth. Currently in Malaysia, we are on the 12th Malaysia Plan for the year 2021 until 2025. National income can also help us evaluate the performance of public sector, as it contains savings, investment, export and import, and also consumption. By studying the national income statistic, we can see the trend of expenditure in our country, and in Malaysia, we can conclude the public sector is dominating the central planning economy if most of the economic activities are taken over by the states. Finally, national income can also help us study the structural contribution. There are three sectors in our country, which is primary, which include agriculture, mining and fishing activities; secondary, which made up of manufacturing and construction; and tertiary, that comprises services such as finance, insurance, governmental service and other business services. By analysing this national income, the most important sectors can be found by the sectors that contribute most to our countries. For example, in Malaysia, the most important sector is services sector, as this sector has been the most stable sector for the last 2 decades and contribute 32% of our labour force participation rate.
To calculate the national income, there are usually 5 major problems that usually encountered by a country. First and foremost, the problem of the non-monetized sector. This problem usually arises in the third world countries such as Nigeria, Somalia, and more other countries, as the presence of a large number of non-monetized sector usually happen in agriculture. It makes the process to calculate national income more difficult. This is because a huge portion of the produce, especially in agricultural sector, it never reach the market, because usually the last product will be only consumed directly by the farmers themselves, or they will only share it or exchange by their small community of producers for other goods and for other services. The second problem that usually happens is the problem of double counting, which refers to the probability of a service such as raw materials or labor that are being counted more than once in national income. For example, a farmer sells RM200 ringgit worth of maize to a mill owner, and then the mill owner sells the maize to a wholesale dealer, and then the wholesale dealer sells it to a consumer. So if we measure the money value at each point, it will increase up to RM800 ringgit. But actually, the increase in national income should only be RM200 ringgit only. So there is a way to prevent this problem from happening, which is to measure only the value of all products and services that are consumed only at the end of the process. The third problem that are usually being faced by a country is the non-availability of reliable information. Majority of small producers in third world countries are usually illiterate. They can't read, they don't know how to count that well, they don't know how to differentiate words. So these small producers, they have no idea of the quantity and the value of their output. Therefore, they do not follow the practice of keeping regular accounts. Plus, the big number of these manufacturers, they usually only work solely for their own consumption, just for their own good, and not for the benefit for the markets. That's why they fail to provide reliable data to the government, and it makes the process to measure national income more harder. The fourth problem is the problem of illegal activities. National income accounting excludes all unauthorized and unlawful practices, whether economic or not. For example, income that was earned through black markets or smuggling or bribery and etc., they shouldn't be included in national income calculation. However, the problem arises because to estimate these these unlawful activities is really difficult because their notion and their style can differ from generation to generation, and it's different from people to other people. That's why people, at the first place, we shouldn't do any action of illegal activities. Last but not least, the fifth problem is netizens with multi-occupation. People have been discovered to be involved in variety of economic activities to gain more money. So there are people who are working two jobs at the same time, as in having having their own business, and working in an office at the same time. So, for example, an office worker who sells burgers every night, the money that he earned from his full-time job as an officer is the only money that will be factored into the national income estimate. But the money that he earned, that he gained from selling burgers, they shouldn't be included in national income. In a nutshell, calculating national income is not an easy task. It takes a lot of work, a lot of focus, and a lot of time. Therefore, it would be great if people can understand the pain of computing national income, and we should educate ourselves more to contribute to our own country.
You guys must be wondering, right? What is per capita income? So, per capita income is a measure of the amount of money earned per person in a nation. It also can be used to determine the average of personal income from an area. Hence, it is also can be used to evaluate the standard of living and quality of the population. We have reached the last question, which is, what is growth rate? Growth rate is a percentage of quantity of goods and services produced within a specific period of time. It also typically represents the compounded annualized rate of growth of a company's revenue, dividends, earnings, and also macro concept, which is gross domestic product, or also known as GDP, and retail sales.
Okay, that's all from our group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.